Welcome to Freedom Cast, where your hosts, Jordan and Miranda, show you how to get just a little bit more out of life. Are you ready to leave normal behind?
Welcome to Freedom Cast. This week, we interview Ciara Delgado. She is one of our CG trainers. Miranda and I love our Camp Gladiator. We talk about it probably a little bit too much, but Ciara is one of our trainers, and she's going to be joining us today on this show. We are so excited to talk about her, or talk with her a little bit about faith, a little bit more about CG, and her own company, Stag, which is Stag Human Performance. We are interested in hearing more about that. We're also going to talk to her about her fun trip to London, and just see how that went and see how that all came about. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some personal branding stuff with Ciara and what that really means. She has a really good outlook on personal branding, and we're just going to be asking her a few questions on that. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. So sit back and listen close, because we're going to be talking about some really cool things on this Freedom Cast episode. All right, Ciara, thank you so much for being with us today on our podcast.
Yeah.
We appreciate you taking the time to pop over here and do this pretty much last minute. I think we decided yesterday around like 9 o'clock that we wanted to do this. And that's great.
Fun. It's never fun unless it's just last minute, spur of the moment.
Doesn't matter for us. We're flexible. We enjoy having people on the show and just talking a little bit about stuff. If you just want to get started and just tell us a little bit about yourself, tell our listeners kind of maybe how we got to know you, and then, just anything you want to talk about.
Well, I forced them to work out in the morning, so yes.
Much to our chagrin.
Yes, exactly.
We are forced.
Regular beatings.
And we are yelled at.
Yes, exactly, at 8:15 in the morning. No, I run a Camp Gladiator boot camp in Birkdale, and so Jordan and Miranda, they frequent the camp, and every month, and getting their butts kicked. And then I'm also the CEO and owner of Stag Human Performance, which it's a threefold company. One fold of it is that we work in exercise science research. It's privately funded research. And then the other factor is in-person and online personal training. So we're travel trainers. And then,
that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're opening our sponsorship sector, our competitors division, where we actually sponsor athletes that range from bodybuilding to strongman, all the way through to physique, men's and women's, and also into an endurance division, so endurance athletes. So threefold, that's what Stag is. And yeah.
Stag is your, like, you and your boyfriend's personal company?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Stag. Stag is the middle of the last name.
And what is it? That's what it stands for?
Yeah, Castano, and his nickname in high school, college for sports was Stag.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
One of the two, because he's a Texan. So, yeah, so Stag is where that comes from.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So we, as we have gotten to know you, you're always doing something different. There's always something else going on. We'll talk about your trip to London in a little bit. But me and Miranda, and she wrote this question, so she thinks you're the queen.
I love that he's asking this question.
Yeah, I wasn't just gonna ask it without making a comment about that. Miranda made me do it. No,
blame the wife.
Yes.
The wife has been blamed. Okay. You really are, though. You're a queen of personal branding. So how do you do it? How do you always have like something else going on? How do you get the word out about what you're doing? I know Miranda's worded that question, but it's something I'm very interested in, just because.
Yeah. So the fun thing that I took towards running a business, and for me, I am my own business card, essentially. And so for me, I took it as anything and everything that I can get my hands on that gathers exposure, whether that be writing for magazines or anything pertaining to our research, social media, just getting out into the community and doing anything and everything to put yourself out there, really is the way to get your personal brand. And in the realm of personal training, that is a huge asset. It's a huge asset because you want people to know that you're a great trainer. That's first fold. But you also want people to know you as a person. And so getting out there and putting yourself out there for all kinds of projects, community service, I mean, just dip your feet in anything and everything. That really builds the overall brand and definitely how you present yourself to a community and to your clients. Yeah, so that's really how I approached it. Just, I never said no to an opportunity. I never said no to anything that kind of came my way. When Carolina Fitness Magazine was like, hey, will you do an article? It's like, well, you're in South Carolina. Oh, wait. Oh, no, I'm going to say yes because it has to do with fitness, or, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I had a trainer that he had cystic fibrosis, and so I wanted to get involved with something pertaining to children and within our community. Another fundraising effort, and they are just so well run and so smooth, and just have such a great cause that they rally behind. The influence is tenfold, and even though that has nothing to do with personal training, it put me out there as a brand, as a person. So it shows that, you care about the community that you're working within.
I think that's really cool too, because we definitely, when we see you and things posted on Facebook of what you're involved in, and you were in the Lake Norman
women's magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Stuff like that. When, you're our trainer, you get that sense of pride, like, oh, that's our trainer. Like,
where my random neighbor found me in the doctor's office.
Yeah.
Ciara, is this you? Wait, what? How did you even get that? Yeah. So things like that just pop up, and, you just kind of, you never say no, and everything can lead to something. And if you go with that type of idea, then, you can have a lot of fun with it. I like my brand. I like being able to expand it and play with it, and, not too much in like a negative way, or, you have to be smart to a certain point, but
yeah. Do you ever find that it's too much? Do you ever like get to the point where you're taking too much on? And kind of wish you had said no to things, or?
So that's actually something I don't really struggle too much with saying no to. For example, like the Fitness Trainer magazine, I was a regular contributor to their magazine almost every single month. But when I was focusing on compiling all of our research for London and getting ready for London, that was an email that I sent to Ellen Thompson, who's the editor. I said, hey, listen, I need to kind of step away from the responsibilities of writing for your magazine for a little bit because I need to focus on this other project. And when you explain, that whole situation, she was totally cool with it. It's not that I'm stepping away forever. It's just like, hey, I need a couple months where, she's got plenty of contributors, so it was no big deal. But yeah, being able to figure out where you can kind of take a little bit away so that you can give a little more in a different area. You need to know yourself and learn how to manage all of your cards. That's definitely something that, successful people do well.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. That's something I even wrote a post recently just about personal branding, just to try to explain it a little bit. But if you could kind of give a little bit to our listeners about, if someone just asked you what I don't even know what personal branding is, what would you say to that?
Oh man,
how would you describe it in not too in depth, because I don't want to go too crazy with this, but it's so interesting to me, because I think what you said before about, your personal brand is your kind of business card, and yes. I feel like that's where the future of things is going. Besides just having a resume, it's building your own personal brand and having like a presence online, or not necessarily just online, but in a community as well.
Yes.
So how did you start to think about personal branding and then be intentional about, building yours?
So have you ever heard the phrase, people can read all about you, but they're going to remember more so about how you made them feel? Mm-hmm. You kind of heard like, or
I feel like I've heard it
or twist on,
worded, yeah.
or twist on that phrase, like that kind of thing. It's always about personal interaction. So I could send a client or a potential client or, anybody on the street my business card all day. But in the end, it's just my image on a business card. They have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
Now, take it to a networking event, or take it to, let's say one of my CF get-togethers or something along those lines. And I'm having a conversation with, let's say, Miranda, having a conversation with you about, you mentioned, you do this and you really want to do yoga more often. Oh, well, I'm a trainer, tell me more about your fitness goals. Mm-hmm. And we get into that type of conversation, and then you get my card.
Yeah, means a lot more.
Which one are you going to remember first? You're going to remember the experience and the conversation you had with me first, and then you're going to remember, oh, I also have her information.
Mm-hmm.
But she made me feel like I was taken care of. She had a genuine interest in my goals. She had a genuine care for what I wanted to achieve with my body. And that's a huge responsibility for any trainer. For someone to come to you and say, I'm trusting you with my body, that is a huge responsibility. And if people don't take that seriously, they're not good trainers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just another dollar sign to them, that's somebody you don't work with. And so really taking the care to understand that distinction is the difference between a good trainer and just a trainer that is just going to kind of stay on the market for just a little while. But someone that's going to make a career out of it and develop their actual personal brand, you have to put the effort to getting in front of the people that you want to work with and talking to them first. You have to put yourself out there more so than just on paper or, wording.
Yeah, because I feel like you feel like you're getting sold to a lot during the day in this world, and so it's nice to have that. When you have that relationship, it just means so much more because it's not just like
exactly.
that dollar sign thing.
And the more you're out there, and the more exposure you have, the more that you write, the more that you put more of your ideas, your experience, your ideals, your morals out there, then, the more people kind of get to know you, even if they can't meet you face to face. So that's why I always take an opportunity, always say yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that because that's so interesting to me. But we'll jump here and talk a little bit more about your London trip. We'll start off with what brought it on. We know a little bit about this, but if you just want to explain to our listeners kind of why you went over there and that whole thing, cool experience.
Yeah,
yes.
And you must say it in a British accent.
Yes. I went to visit the Queen. Oh my gosh, I know.
Really bad.
I know. Annette Dreyer, I know one of my clients that lived there for 20 years is probably thinking, oh dear God, Ciara, why did you just attempt that? Then we have 2 trainer buddies for Bear Fitness that are probably like, please don't ever try and intimidate that Jack. Ever.
You're like, don't do that.
Yeah, just
stop.
Just stop. I tried. I really tried. So it was another one of, so essentially to put it, I guess the easiest way to explain it is that I started a research project when I was in grad school that had to do, the base was really in sports psychology and athletic identity.
Okay.
And so over the 7 years of that research, the research has broken itself into different facets. So athletic identity, different things contribute to the strength of an athlete's athletic identity. And the athletic identity is how strongly you define yourself as an athlete and how that impacts your adherence to sport or whatever sport you play. So let's say you are a track and field runner and you literally deep down, that is, you don't define yourself as man, woman, or, just Miranda. I'm an athlete. You ever have people like, oh, what do you do? What are you? What do you do for a living? What are you? I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
They literally have the strength of their athletic identity is so strong that, you think about those types of people that are within sport, they will do anything and everything possible to succeed at that sport.
Mm-hmm.
So their adherence to their sport is exceptionally strong, and therefore they should be very successful. Well, there are a lot of things that play into the strength of that athletic identity. And so my research focused on a lot of those different portions that would affect athletic identity and how well athletes adhere to their sport. And it's a sports psychology piece. And so one of the facets was gender, and then another one was sexuality.
Okay.
And so the London presentation was focused around gender identity in sport. And so they saw the research and they wanted me to present on, our findings from, STAG had done all of this research. They wanted us to present on those findings and do a quick piece and some updates for people that were attending that conference. And so I went over and I said, all right, let's do it.
Cool.
Yeah, so put together an entire presentation, compiled all the research and all the numbers, and went over there and had fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I really just asked because me and Miranda want a free trip to London.
I know, right?
So that's why we asked.
Well,
no, that
go back next year. The health and wellness conference is in London next year. We could do that.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So how did it go?
It went great. No, it was great to really, essentially what it came down to is our research showed that there was maybe 1% of the population that we basically accumulated data from that actually considered gender or sexuality a contributing factor to athletic identity. Okay. Which means that, and the easiest way to explain this is that you have, for example, a gay male, and he is on the track team. Okay. He does not feel like his sexuality contributes negatively or positively to his performance during his race.
Okay, interesting.
It's not a contributing factor. It's not something that affects them on a mental level to be able to perform. And, we're going into a lot of controversy within sport where you have a lot of athletes that were having some physiological issues, whether it be that something they're born with or something that they're going through. They might be transitional. And how do we fit that into our sporting world? And there's a lot of controversy surrounding it. One side says one thing, another side says another thing. And how do we all come to, not necessarily an agreement, but how do we keep sport moving forward and in a fair manner so that, the athletes are taken care of and that, sport remains sport. It's still competitive, but you don't have, that, full-on winner because, they were born with a certain genetic disorder. For example, there's an 800-meter runner where she says that she is born with a genetic tendency to produce more testosterone than the average female. Whereas a lot of the public and some other professionals are saying, well, no, you're using something or something else is going on here. And do we allow you to run and perform with the other female athletes? And she's dominated.
Yeah.
But then you have other female athletes that are saying, well...
And they're probably frustrated that they're getting beat.
Some are, but then there's the other one. No, she's making me work harder.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So you have it twofold.
There's always that competitive level that really can bring out the best in people.
Exactly. But do we adjust our testosterone level standards to include her? And then how does that transition to, because she's not a transgender. How does that transition to someone that isn't born with that type of genetic disorder? And so this conference really dipped into a lot of those issues. And and so a lot of the research that STAG did kind of didn't really blur any lines, but it moved us forward a bit more with, an understanding that, from a psychological perspective, it shouldn't be a factor. It shouldn't, and especially for coaches. You shouldn't treat a gay athlete any different than another athlete who is not gay, who is heterosexual or cisgender. Shouldn't treat them any different as far as coaching principles go because they separate it. It's not an issue for them.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
that was a lot.
Wow, yeah, no, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in, and definitely
got my wheels turning.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about, and then I think that's really cool because it's like it's not something we generally think about, but as you're describing it, it's definitely something that, like, as like you said, as it's becoming more controversial, we're going to have to be thinking about that more often, and have to be. At least having some basis for understanding and answering those questions. It can't just be like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
If there's got to be, and especially, as it gets more like complex and the more competitive it is, there's got to be some answer either way. And how do you get to that answer? You do the research and do that stuff. So that's really cool. We will go away from that, and hopefully that's given you guys something to think about. I know, like Miranda said, my wheels are turning too. So we'll move on from that. And Ciara, what are some major goals for the future that you have? We asked this question just because we like to get to know people a little bit better, but also because having goals and kind of knowing where you want to be is very important. So if you just want to talk a little bit about that, maybe just some goals you have, and also talk about goals in general and why it's important.
Well, I mean, if you're going to go anywhere, you better have a roadmap of some kind of what you want to be. Where you want to go.
Ciara just went trainer mode.
Yeah.
You better do it.
You better have an idea. I can't make a plan for you if you don't know that you want to lose 10 pounds and where that 10-pound mark is. But I mean, from a professional standpoint, something that we're really excited about is a partnership that we have formulated with FitMatch, and it's an app that is essentially the Uber of personal training.
Oh, cool!
And so
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah, so Stag and FitMatch are now partners, and we are launching that coming up in the next month or so. And we essentially are bringing in an entire field of trainers, and this can go nationwide. Just like Uber did.
Yeah.
I mean, and trainers are going to have
Uber exploded and took off. And I still am amazed at how they took off and how they started. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's just amazing what they did because they took over. I think they booted out like a lot of taxi cab companies.
Yeah.
And so it's just amazing. Like even if things are set in like our culture now and there's things you don't think you can change, like I think anything's possible, and anything that can change even in that way. It's a new way of thinking, and people love different things. And so sorry, go ahead. I just think that's cool. I never heard of that, but that's could take over.
There's a reason you haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, so we're bringing that to the market, and the app's already developed, and we're formulating our entire command of trainers to jump in and literally start training. But I mean, imagine, you live here, and imagine if you could just turn on the app and find a trainer anywhere in your area and go through their entire resume and see what type of exercises they do or type of training they do, and they can come straight to your house and train you right here. So the nice thing is that Stag is currently already doing that. We train our clients right. We're travel trainers. We train you right at your home, at work. We go wherever you are. But partnering with FitMatch gives our trainers the ability to really dip into the public, to really dip into the community wherever they are. And even if you're training or traveling, if I'm a trainer that's, on vacation in San Diego or traveling somewhere in Texas, then all I have to do is, hey, I have 3 hours to kill. I can flip on the app and I can actually work right then and there from where I am. Wow. And so it helps you be able to develop an income and establish an income, a training income, no matter where you are. Because for a lot of the training population, they all know this, is that when you're on vacation, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
So your income is literally for however hard you want to work, but now you can take work a little more easy with you. And so we're really excited about that. That is probably my biggest thing. And the other one,
that's super cool. Yeah. I could definitely see a win-win situation for the clients and trainers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you're the person being trained, that like sometimes the biggest hurdle is like getting to the gym to work out or getting somewhere.
Going to the workout, yeah.
Like, we can't run away from you if you are coming to our house. So.
Darn it.
Exactly.
She's on her way. We can't escape.
And if we're running, we're getting a workout anyway.
Exactly. So. Yeah, I mean, I have clients that, hey, I'm not going to make it, to my home. I'm not going to be able to train. I have to work late. Okay, where's your office? What do you mean? Yeah, where's your office? I've done this plenty of times. I work at such and such building. Okay, is there a parking lot? Where'd you park your car? Yeah. Okay, good. All right, meet me there at, when are you going to get done? 6:50? Cool, I'll meet you at 6:50, right at your car.
Right at the parking lot. Nice.
Literally right in their parking lot. And I have trained people right there as they come out of work, because they have their exercise clothes with them. Yeah. And so I'll just say, throw on the exercise clothes, and then they head straight home and they hop in the shower. They still got their workout in. Either way, I was going to drive somewhere. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So really excited about that, and also our athlete division. Getting all of our sponsored athletes off the ground, and we've essentially umbrellaed over a number of sponsors, gathered a whole bunch of sponsors all under one umbrella company. We are the umbrella company for our athletes. A really big struggle with, for example, physique athletes is they have to go in and they have to find their own sponsors, and a lot of times it's kind of fluff. It's really just like, hey, we'll give you some supplements if you hang out at our desk and sell a couple 2 hours a week, and and then all of a sudden you're considered an athlete. Well, we're making it a lot more official now. We're taking those sponsors and putting them under one company and saying, all of you are going to contribute to the success of our contracted athletes. And these are athletes that are pro card holders. So they've put in the work, they've proved that they're on track to really make this a career, make this a profession for themselves. And they're also trainers, so it's great having those types of elite trainers. So, yeah, those are two of the most things I'm most excited about. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And Christmas.
And Christmas. Christmas is always exciting.
Yes. It's very exciting. Do you have a countdown or?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we start decorating right after Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I have boxes and boxes. Like, Chris keeps threatening that, like, when I'm gone one day, he's just gonna go downstairs and, like, chuck stuff into the dumpster. And I'm like, no, not all my Christmas decorations.
We literally have, like, one shoebox, I think, of, like, Christmas decorations.
We'll have to get some more this year.
I'll donate.
All the moves, yeah.
I'll give you mine, and then I'll go get new ones.
Yeah, there you go. Works for both of us.
Exactly. So yeah, those are two big goals to finish up leading into 2018.
Cool. Are you going to London again next year?
We're not sure yet.
Not sure. Okay.
Yeah. So the thing with a lot of the speaking engagements, and especially research based, is you go and you present on all of this research you've done over the last 7 years. Well, it's not going to change too much in a year.
Yeah.
You still have a lot of work to put in, and so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go and present on the same thing, even a year after. I might do some smaller speaking engagements, but we're looking to kind of stay a little more grounded next year.
Okay.
Just one of those years, kind of a flow year.
Okay, cool. This question kind of changes the direction a little bit, and it's a little bit deeper. So just go into it as much as you want. But what role does faith play in your life?
You know me well.
We do know you well. That is why I threw the question in there. Ha
No, and I'm glad, because sometimes, and I like that because so many people nowadays will kind of bounce around the faith question.
And yeah, and honestly, it was, just to talk a little bit about that, as far as the show, that was something me and Miranda struggled with, even though, like, we definitely consider ourselves Christians. We go to church every week. We're involved in the church. It's so hard to ask these questions and talk about this stuff just because, I don't know whether it's the fear of people like thinking a certain way or thinking of you, or the fear that they're going to flip the show off in the middle once you start talking about this stuff. But
you say faith, it's like,
yeah. And it's like, it's not something to be afraid of. It's something a lot of people are into and believe. So it's not something, but it's just that inner fear. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry. I just wanted to add that because it is, you're totally right.
And to toot your own horn, that's for you essentially is, I'm glad you do, because if people keep avoiding it, they're going to miss out on the fact that it is going to help so many people. And I think a lot of people shy away from either talking about it or bringing it up more so nowadays is because they may not be confident in either their own faith yet.
Yeah.
Because faith is a gift. It's not something that you just are born with. It's something that you do have to work on. And, for me, and I thought about this question, one of my directors with Camp Gladiator asked me, we're sitting down, it's just the two of us in a hotel room, and she goes, I gotta ask you, where does the confidence come from? Like, how do you get the confidence to just do this stuff? Like, did you just think, like, there was gonna be a factor that you're not gonna be able to travel, or you're not gonna be able to speak in front of a giant group of people? Like, why didn't you hesitate? And so, it's funny, because I didn't want to tell her why. And the reason is because, and I knew her pretty well, is that she wasn't very grounded in her faith yet. She was exploring it. She was, exploring her relationship with God, and that's something that I knew that she needed to work through. Whereas I've already found mine. So for me, my relationship with God is in the fact that He has already determined my entire path for me. My entire journey is already taken care of. And what a lot of people struggle with is trusting in the fact that you have already been taken care of. So when I get asked to go and speak in London, why didn't I hesitate? God has already determined how I'm going to do when I step up there.
Yeah. He's
going to be right there. That's comforting for me.
Yeah, that's a great mindset to live a life with no fear.
Yeah, not necessarily no fear. You don't have any fear. It's more of a confidence.
Yeah.
Because trust me, when I go to the top of a building, I don't want to look at. I don't want to look at. Yeah. That is genuine fear
there.
I am like, nope. I don't want to be close to the edge. I'm cool. That is completely different.
Yeah.
But it's more of a confidence. It's a trust that whatever comes out of my mouth, He has already determined what is going to happen. He already knows how people are going to react. He knows what I'm going to say. I have done anything and everything possible to prepare myself for that moment, and it'll be okay. And it took me a while to get there. And I always think that people, you know, sometimes go through points in their life where they kind of feel like they've fallen away from their faith. I'm using my bunny quotes. Yeah. Fallen away from their faith.
Can't see the bunny quotes.
And I always think about that in a specific way, not necessarily that they don't believe in God anymore. And I think that's how people interpret it. But I interpret it as you're struggling with understanding where you are and why you're there. Mm-hmm. And you're struggling with the ability to trust why you've been put there, why you've been put in that situation. It's a feeling for some of like abandonment, and not quite knowing where to go, indecisiveness. But if you can bring yourself back to, you know, I do regular devotions, Chris does regular devotions, we do our devotions together. And if it's something you can bring each other back to, I know that, you know, he goes through points in his, you know, day or weeks where school is just, you know, crazy for him. And I'll do our devotions for the both of us. We both have separate journals, and I'll do both of our devotions, really almost carrying his faith. And then we lay them out, and he makes the point that when he gets a chance or a study break to go look at them and highlight things that he agrees with or that he's thankful that we devoted the day to. Yeah. And so that's really cool. Yeah. Like, and so it's supporting each other within our faith. And so it kind of is almost like a check system, a check and balance system to always keep us moving forward with our trust in God. That we are moving on a path that it's okay if you don't know what's next. And I think that being okay with not knowing what's next is that's, you know, the hard part. It's difficult for people. It's really difficult for people to come to that understanding. And so, you know, as far as that faith question, I think that it's good that we ask that because, one, we're all different people. We all have different faiths. We come from completely different walks of life. And understanding that is okay and that's how it's supposed to be, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, I completely agree with that. You know, you never should be in this place where you think, what was I trying to say? I lost it there. I had it. It's a brilliant thing that I lost it. No, it's just the importance of, I think we talked about this before, just the importance of having an open mind and accepting people where they're at. And I think the fear comes in with asking that question and sharing your faith is that, you know, that in some way we're expected to know it all. We're expected to be able to answer these tough questions, you know, and, you know, realistically, we can't answer all the tough questions about Christianity because we can't answer all the tough questions like about life in general. We don't know it all. We're not at this point like of more enlightenment, you know, than anyone else. We're just at a different point in our lives in what we believe in. And we shouldn't be ashamed of that. No. In any way. Like that I don't know everything. Yes. I like that I don't know what the next step was. I'm glad I don't know everything. I'd be frightened probably. I'm going to do what? Oh no. What's about to happen? I'm not going to do that. We need to have a conversation. But no, like sitting in that hotel room when she actually asked me, the reason that I couldn't tell her that God was the reason I was so confident in where my life was going and the immense blessings that he has given to me was because I knew that she hadn't found it for herself yet. And that if she didn't know that question, or the answer to that question herself, then I didn't need to answer it for her. Yeah. That was something that he needed to show her, and it wasn't my point to share that with her. And plus, I kind of like that it was my little secret. Yeah, I think that's definitely the better way to go, and not. I mean, I think some people are called to be more evangelical, and that's great. I just tend to think that for the most part, like I totally agree with you. People need to find it for themselves. It's not our responsibility to conform. Is that the right word? Conform people to our way of thinking or influence them and to make them become Christian or to make them believe in a certain thing. That's not us. You know, if we believe in God, then we believe that God's eventually going to do that for that person in the right timing. Now, we can certainly share our faith and we can certainly, you know, be ourselves with them. But I think there's still that fear there of like, well, we have to, if we're going to do it, we have to do it the right way. And it's just not how it is because we're not perfect. And, you know, even if we choose to share it, we're probably going to fumble over our words and all that stuff because we do. Yeah, exactly. There's never going to be a perfect moment to share
what you think and, you know, and what you believe in. If you're waiting for that perfect moment, you're not going to find it. Just throw that out there.
You're also never going to be like super eloquent about it unless you talk about it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We really went down that road. That's great.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought Miranda was going to start talking about it. She was like, all right, okay, cool. All right, well, we'll start wrapping up here with the last couple questions, but what's one piece of advice you would give our listeners? It can be on any subject. Or if you want me to narrow it down, I can.
What one piece of advice?
It doesn't have to be like the golden ticket piece of advice. Just one general piece of advice that you'd like to share.
Or two. It can be two.
You know what? And this is something that I've seen a lot. No matter what happens as far as success in your life, whatever successes you have, or whatever, you know, failures or, you know, trips you might take, don't ever treat anybody any differently. I meet people that have seen great successes in their life, and they have an expectation to be treated much more different than others based on that success. And I really feel like a respect is a big part of that. Respect it should be, you know, granted, no matter if you're the janitor or the CEO. That's, you know, you always treat all of the same. And so I think people struggle with wherever they are in their life, sometimes remembering that, not only how they react to other people, but how they have expectations of themselves as far as how they should act. And I think that it's good to check those people once in a while too. But
that can be easier said than done to check people. I have a hard time with that, even if I notice something, well, that was definitely not like the right thing to say to that person, or like that person just like didn't tip that waiter, you know, or that waiter or the waitress, and they just walked out and we're okay with that. And it's like, it's hard to be like, come on, man, you know?
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, we gotta catch ourselves, and, you know, we gotta be true to ourselves and what we believe in. Because if we're not taking those moments, if we're not seizing those opportunities, then, you know, we're really missing out on a chance to you know, do the right thing.
Yeah, I think people forget how really small they are on this planet, and that doesn't change depending on your success. You're still small. I'm still just as small as you are. You're still just as small as I am.
Yeah.
And people forget that ego equality, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes back to way back, but we're talking about the relationship building and how, you know, that's so important. Even if you are, you know, big CEO, bossy boss, like you still have to respect people, and it still comes down, you know, people are going to work harder for you if they respect you. And it's just, relationships are everything, really.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Agreed. Okay, Ciara, so where can people find you to get more information about Stag, or eventually that awesome app? What's the app name?
It's called FitMatch.
FitMatch. Okay,
yes.
cool.
FITMATMA.
And when's it coming out?
There you go. We should see it completed in about a month. Yeah, it should be all
okay. So maybe
good to go.
Maybe by the time this episode goes on, yeah. I'm not sure when this one particularly will air, but yeah, where can people go to find Stag? Is that media. Stag Facebook?
Yeah, you can go
primarily?
Facebook. Instagram is Stag Trainer. You know, we have a really good social media base, so that's really where we drive everybody to currently.
Yeah, Ciara has about 50 Facebook pages. So.
She does always get made fun of by the other CG campers about, oh, Ciara's taking over my Facebook. So if you join CG or Stag, she probably will take over your Facebook. Just a warning, but that's okay.
It's all good information.
It's all good stuff.
Yeah, everyone needs to know. Everyone has to know. All things health and fitness. Yeah. No, and CG, you know, we have CG Charlotte. We have www.campgladiator.com. I do the camps over at Birkdale Village here in Huntersville and also Ladder Plantation. Yep.
Which we can walk to, which is great.
Yeah. It's awesome when you can have your warm-up on your way to your workout. Like, oh, you don't have to run. You're good.
I do not carry my weights over there, and I'm not going to.
No.
I'm not.
I started carrying the 20 specifically for Jordan in the back of my car.
Didn't you do it one day?
I did it one day. It was the most painful thing I've ever done. Like, I'm not doing it again.
Watch it clock you in the bag. Like, oh, God, why is he doing this? No, but so really big social media following. And CG is actually much better social media following, too. So anything and everything social media, we're all on there.
Awesome. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, this was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for popping over.
Talking to us.
Yay.
All right, Freedom Casters. Hope you got some good information in that podcast. Hope you enjoyed our chat with Ciara Delgado. Please go on to iTunes, give us a review for this episode. We would very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have a fantastic day. Stay weird, friends.